Okay, guys, we're going to pull a card for this episode because now that I've opened up more about spirituality, I feel like it just makes a lot of sense. So we are rolling. This episode, let's pull a card first. When I lean on the faith of the universe, peace becomes real. I like that. And then second, we've got, I choose to learn through love. Hello guys, welcome back to the podcast. If you are new here, hello, welcome. My name is Isabel. I'm your host and this is Start Somewhere, the podcast. This is where we talk about an abundance of different topics from mindset, motivation, manifestation. We touch a lot on business, personal branding, and of course, my favorite topic, which is meditation. So we talk about a bunch of different things in this podcast. For those of you who have stuck around, who have listened to episodes before, I'm so grateful for your continuous support of the podcast. I did a post not too long ago saying that, guys, our downloads are compounding drastically. The downloads I used to get in 1 week, I am getting in 1 day. The podcast is seriously booming. It's growing so suddenly, but at the same time, we've been at it for 2 years. So there's no such thing as an overnight success, guys. This seriously is a result of consistency. I have consistently posted podcast episodes since 2020. So I love that I still have this platform. I still have this channel. I still have this community to share with you guys, and it ain't going anywhere because I love it so much and you guys love it so much. So why stop something that everyone is loving? On that note, this podcast episode idea came to me on my morning walk this morning. And what I've been doing recently is a walking guided meditation. So for those of you who don't know, I have been consistently meditating for over 3 years now. And the type of meditation that I do is called transcendental meditation. And this is a form of meditation where you don't have a guide, you don't have music, you don't have a voice, you only have a mantra. And a mantra is a sound, I want to say. So it's not like a word like dog or cat. It's more like a made up word, and it's something you repeat in your mind. So as an example, it might be like hum, ha, like stuff like that. Lol, that was my little Buddha impersonation. So you get given a mantra, and that is what you repeat in your mind. And it's a practice. Meditation is a practice, guys. You're not stopping your thoughts altogether. But the purpose of this mantra is to play it in your mind every single time you breathe in and you breathe out, and every time a thought does try to come and entertain your mind and take up space, you have this mantra in place to essentially distract yourself from the thought, to enable it to be pushed away so you can come back to focusing on your breath, which is the whole purpose of meditation. We do not stop our thoughts altogether. That is impossible unless you are dead. It is to focus on the inhale and the exhale of your breath. And every time a thought does come, not to judge it, not to manipulate it, not to get mad at yourself for thinking, not to entertain the thought and to be like, oh, let me think back to this time or this memory or this person. It's instead to A, recognize it, and then B, allow your mind to gently drift away from it. So I have been doing a walking meditation, which is complete opposite to that. And I've actually been doing this on the Mindspo app, which is called Manifesty. And when I was in Cyprus on the Mindspo retreat, guys, if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go check it out. So many of you guys loved it. It was such a great episode for me to share as well with you all. And so I was on a Mindspo retreat, and this is how I got introduced to Manifesty as well. And we would do the walking meditations as a group. Like we all had a, plugged in on our phones ourselves, but we're all like walking along the coast on the beach in Cyprus doing these walking meditations. So I think I have a bit of a sentimental attachment to it because it just brings me back to, like, honestly, the most expensive, best week I've had in the longest time. But instead, I'm doing it in the mornings here, and like the spring weather at the moment in Australia, in Adelaide especially, has just been not nice, sunny, warm Cyprus weather. So kind of the same, but not the same, but it brings me back. And doing this walking meditation, The one I've been doing has been purely focused on abundance, and it really sparked up a bit of inspo to record this episode for you. And this is going to be all about the term abundance, but I'm putting a different spin on it because I feel the term abundance is thrown around quite loosely, especially in, I guess, financial abundance. Abundance, obviously everyone has their own kind of interpretation, definition, whatnot, but essentially means there's no lack, right? There's no scarcity. There's abundance to go around. There's enough to go around. And I'm going to put a completely different spin on this concept. And I'm going to be talking about the abundance of emotions. This is going to be quite a deep episode, which I love. And as well, I'm going to get really vulnerable about a few things. And if you haven't listened to my episode on vulnerability, definitely go listen to that as well after this episode. I think that's going to tie in really nicely to these concepts, because essentially vulnerability is a superpower. Vulnerability is your superpower. Like, we don't want to live, I know you don't because you're choosing to listen to this podcast. We don't want to live in a superficial world where we are just copy and paste of the person next to us. Like, we want to be different. We want to be ourselves, right? And in order to stand out from the crowd, you be yourself, because nobody can be you apart from you. We can follow the trends, the fashion trends, the hair trends, the aesthetics on Instagram, the coffee orders, like we can look like other people, but nobody can be you at your core essence. And the way you're going to get to that is by tapping into your vulnerability. And this is something not many of us do because it's scary, it's uncomfortable. But a big focus I shared in this vulnerability episode as well is asking yourself, what is this teaching me? So definitely go listen to that after this episode. It's not like you need to listen to it first to understand what I'm going to be talking about, because we're going to be talking about this abundance of emotions, and vulnerability, yes, is a big part of that. So I guess as well, my inspo for this is, as I'm recording this will be up a little bit later as I'm recording this right now. Context, guys, it's October 25th. I think it's a new moon actually as well. So, and we've just come out of eclipse season. So, well, maybe we're still in eclipse season, but we had one not too long ago. And the emotions were, or the energies, I guess you could say, were heavy, were interesting, were deep, had a lot of depth to them. And I touched on spirituality a lot. I want to start to talk more about it on the podcast because I know so many of you guys, you resonate, you're interested, you want to learn more about it. Yet again, tapping into your spirituality is just going to be such a game changer. If you are a business owner in that, if you're not, just in life in general. I've been into spirituality way before I had my business. It's what really enables me to have this magnetic energy, to be confident, to love myself, to do all the things I do, right? To do all the things that make me me. And the reason I want to share on this topic and share these stories and open up is because I feel when we go through emotions, not always the happy ones, we push them away. We get mad at ourselves for feeling them. We judge them. We think, why are we feeling this way? Like, we always want to attach some kind of meaning to it. Well, I do anyway. I'm sure a lot of you guys can resonate with this concept also. And I think we sometimes just need to take a step back and realize shitty things happen. Things that suck happen. Things that are sad happen. And that is simply life. And essentially, it's part of being a human. If we don't go through these things, it's like we're essentially robots, not feeling emotions. And life is a polarity. Polarity means opposite. To have ups, we have downs. To have highs, we have lows. We have exciting times. We have boring, dull times. It's just a part of life cycle. And it's not that it gets easier. It's that you get stronger and you essentially get better. In a non-egotistical way. You get better at handling these emotions, and on reflection, what I feel this is like a definition as is you grow more courage. You become braver. I've been reading a lot. I really love Brene Brown. I may have mentioned this in a recent episode. I read her book Rising Strong, and I've read a bunch of her books. When I was on the plane as well, coming home from Europe, they had this, Emirates airline had this, it was like a 6-part kind of like talk show series all about emotions. And I watched the whole thing. It was so fascinating to me because she really talks about the definition we give emotions, and it truly is, I want to say, like subjective. We give our own interpretations on it. And coming back to this walking meditation I did this morning, it's like we do live in a world of abundance. We do live in a world of XYZ, whatever it is you want to believe. It's based on what lens you are seeing that through. So you can choose to see through the world in a lens of lack, of scarcity, of fear, of hatred, of thinking I'm so alone, I've got no friends, I've got no money, I hate my life, XYZ. Or you can look through life in a lens of glass half full. I've got a couple amazing friends. I have a roof above my head. I have a job that pays the bills. I have a car that can get me from point A to B. Whatever it is. So it truly depends how you look at it. What lenses you're choosing to put on, right? Ironic, I'm wearing glasses right now. It's like what perception you choose to believe. Because life, your reality, your routine, your day, your mindset, how you hold yourself in your day, your week, whatever it is, how you choose to hold yourself is based on a series of what you believe yourself to be. It's based on your thoughts. It's based on your beliefs. And this is a compilation. This is a collection of your habits, of your routines, what it is you choose to fulfill your mind, body, and soul, I always say. And so when we can start to look at life in this like really, is that a deep way? That's just how my brain works. When we can start to look at life in this way, it makes things different and clearer and interesting and more fun, because you get to a point where you realize, wait a minute, I'm the creator, I'm the director, I'm the architect, I'm the artist, I'm the writer of my life. Maybe, you work for a job you don't like, you have a car that you don't like, you have some friends that maybe aren't the best to you, anything else. We have external factors, but at the end of the day, you ultimately are the creator, the director, the writer, the architect, the artist of your life. So you can choose to change that reality right now. It's not that you're going to think one positive thought and that's it. It's this compound effect. And I share so much, I show so much, I create so much on how I'm living a life that I've been manifesting. I've been manifesting this life for 3 years. It's not like I just thought about it one day, I did a cute little meditation and a cute little journal prompt, and boom, I woke up and had this life. I go through my old journals and I'm like, I essentially need to like pinch myself because I'm living that life that I wanted to have one day. And coming back as well to my Mind Spread episode, that just really opened up my eyes to we can manifest anything. It's just patience is a virtue. And we live in a world where we have instant gratification and we want things yesterday before we even knew we wanted to have those things. Therefore, we get disheartened when it doesn't come into our fruition soon enough, and then we give up. So instead, if we can bring ourselves back and really assess and ask yourself, what lens are you choosing to look at your life through? And then recognize that there is abundance all around us and that there is going to be this polarity. There are going to be highs and lows in our emotions. And it's essentially all about having this human experience. And you don't always need to associate meaning for why things happen. Sometimes we do just have to go through, quote unquote, go through shitty jobs, a shitty relationship, a disappointment, a friendship breakup, so we can come out on the other side and realize a sense of courage or bravery or a new lesson or realizing what it is we want and we don't want. And just my biggest and best piece of advice, which has served me so much, which honestly, I can't imagine not doing, because I used to not do this at all, but I can't imagine never not doing this, because by doing this is what has helped me feel my best, be my best, look my best, ooze the best version of myself to people. Have these incredibly strong, bold boundaries that only honor who I am, that don't allow me to attach my self-worth to anybody. Like, nobody can determine my worth apart from myself, and that is a position is so possible for you to achieve as well. And the way I got to this whole point, are you ready? It's by feeling your emotions. Your emotions are energy in motion, right? You need to allow it to run through you. Emotion will pass through you. For anyone who's done breath work before, in the current book club, in the book we have for my book club for this month, it's called Bending Reality, and the author has a really interesting part on breath work and emotions, actually, now that I'm thinking back to it. And she talks about breath work and like, if you haven't done breath work and you're listening to this podcast, please go do it. Look up like Wim Hof on YouTube and just find I think he has a really short one, maybe 7 or 9 minutes. Please do it. It's so powerful. The reason it's so powerful is because breath work, this obviously is very dependent on the person, the situation. You don't always get these experiences, but I've only done breath work a handful of times. Every time I do it, it's been so deep and moving and important to me. And the reason why this is because it is releasing and it's allowing blocked emotions to run through your nervous system. And then you have a release, essentially, that is that emotion coming out of you. And every time I've done breath work, I've just had the most profound realizations about myself, about my life, or to do with my self-worth, actually. And I truly believe if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't have had those releases, which means I wouldn't have learned, I wouldn't have grown, and now I wouldn't be able to share this exact story with you on the podcast. And I wouldn't be where I was right now if I hadn't worked through those emotions, right? Whereas I remember so clearly, it was 2019. I was coming out of a bad place. I was in a breakup. And this is when I really started to get into the gym, into weights particularly. And I had a PT and I was so strong. I probably could not lift as much as I could back then, but that's because I really wanted to become physically strong, because I was working to become mentally strong. And I had this belief, we're going to call it. This is a prime example right now. I had this belief, I had this thought that in order to never be hurt again, I had to have not only a strong mindset, but I had to be physically strong. And this, went hand in hand. The more my mindset grew, the more I wanted to become stronger physically, vice versa. And, when you do weight training especially, it's all mental. It's a mental game. It's a mindset game. It's all you versus you. How many more reps can you do? This, that. So I was constantly working against myself. And I was so fit and healthy in my mind and in my body. And the thing that drove me, I remember so clearly, I would end all my sessions by doing a plank. And I would obviously try and beat that every single time, because I was just in such a need to beat myself mentality. I was very my masculine, if you can't tell, completely in my masculine energy. No ounce of feminine energy at all. And I would try and beat how long I could do a plank for each time. And I got to a point where it was, I want to say, over 5 minutes. And the thing that kept me going was that I remember so clearly I'll be planking, and in my mind, what would run through my mind was that I needed to build up this strong shield over my heart, over my chest. I needed to build up this strong armor so no one and nothing could get through. And I thought this was the right thing to do, right? We're always doing the best with what we know to be true. And this was another realization I had in a breathwork, my most recent breathwork I did at a Sala workshop in Adelaide. And what came to me in this moment was to be more proud of how far you've come, because often we compare, we analyze, we assess, we don't think we're doing good enough, when really you are doing the best you can with what you can do, with what you can hold. with what you know to be true. And if you think you're not, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong, because you are. Because you're doing the best you can with the tools and the resources and the mental capacity and the physical capacity that you have. And yeah, sometimes we have off days and slow days and down days, and that's okay. But I know that you listening to this podcast is somebody who is into self-work, into self-development. Therefore, I know you are doing the best you can, and you're going to have some off days, and that's totally fine. Because if you didn't have these off days, yet again, you're not feeling your emotions. You're like being a robot. You're not allowing polarity to come into your life. And if you don't have this polarity, if you don't have this balance, then what is this life we're living? It's superficial. It's fake. It's not real. It's for filters. It's just for Instagram. Like, it's not, there's no meaning to it. And I know people listening to this podcast, they want to find some kind of meaning to something in their life, like whatever that means to you. So allowing emotion to pass through you is only going to serve you. And whether it is anger and frustration and pain, it doesn't always have to be good things. Maybe it's tears. Maybe you're somebody who cries and you feel so good when you have that release. That's me, guys. Every time I do, if that happens to me, I know it's a good thing. I know that it's only serving me and that I'm releasing these emotions. And every time it does happen, you know how you feel so good after maybe you have like a big cry or a big release or something like that, because you're releasing these emotions, right? And to all my guys listening, please feel your feels. Like, please. I read or saw or watched or whatever, this thing about what attracts us to the opposite sex. And when I read this, I'm like, damn, that is so true. As girls, as females, as women, when we see a male, a guy that we maybe are attracted to, either subconsciously or consciously, what attracts us to them, hear me out here, is their ability to tap into more of a feminine side. So as an example, and this resonates, like this relates to me so much. We see a guy or whatever it may be, and maybe they're really into having a clean house. They're really into cooking. Or they take care of things, or just little, like, I guess, quote unquote, feminine things that us as women like. We resonate. Whereas guys, when they look at a woman and they see something that attracts that to them, yet again, consciously or subconsciously, it could be more these masculine traits. So, you know, their ethic to go to the gym, their mindset to build a business, to work really hard, to stay committed, to stay focused. So obviously take what you want from that example, tweak it to your own. But like I've spoken to girlfriends before, and you know, me personally, like if there's a guy or a male and you know, they have a really clean house, or they really like to cook a certain meal, or they really take pride in something specific that we are like, oh, I really like that because I do the same thing, right? And vice versa with a guy. They see a woman like being really taking charge of her life. Maybe she's really into working out, really committed to the gym. She has a really fantastic work ethic. She's building a business, like whatever it is. And so yet again, polarity. The last thing I want to say, I do want to keep this episode short and sweet and deep, is that coming back to this concept of bravery and courage, is that when we can choose ourselves first, when we can put ourselves first, giving up on someone or something that isn't making an effort, you are not giving up on anything. But you think you're giving up on someone you're dating, or a friendship, or maybe a job. And that job or friendship or person you're dating isn't making the effort that you know deep down you deserve. You are not giving up on anything. You are only doing yourself a service by giving up on this thing. And I speak to a lot of my friends about these concepts, about this exact thing I'm going to share. Everyone settles. We settle with less with what we know we deserve. Because, I mean, a few reasons. Maybe we don't actually know what we deserve. There's still self-worth work to do, which there always is, or maybe, which is the majority, it's out of fear. We don't want to be alone. We don't want to leave comfort. And I've experienced this so much recently, guys. I've been at this crossroad, which I've finally picked my path, but I was at this crossroad, right? And because I'd done a lot of work on myself and I'd read all the books and done the podcasts and the journaling and the meditating, and I really could see things from a completely different perspective. And I was about to step into, I want to say, this new life for me. So this analogy I say, hear me out, guys, this is funny, is I have recently I've finished a chapter, I've finished a book. I'm not even starting the next book on the bookshelf. I've been building a whole new bookshelf for myself. And that bookshelf is done. I'm about to start this first book, this completely new book that has never been read before, never been touched before. It's the first one in this brandly new built bookshelf. And I was at this crossroad not too long ago where I could either go left, which was to go down to a familiar path, what I'm used to. These thoughts and beliefs and thinking patterns that feel like quote unquote home because I'm so used to them. Or I go to the right, which is staring at this new shiny foreign bookshelf that feels just so unknown. But because I have this perception, this different perspective, I know in every single cell and being of my body that it would be the biggest disservice in my life if I chose not to go to that new bookshelf. And I can't explain how uncomfortable it felt for so long to say no to things, to build even stronger, bolder boundaries and standards, and to essentially give up on people and things and XYZ that weren't making the effort that I knew deep down I deserved. And when I understood that, I'm not giving up on these things. I'm only giving up on myself if I choose to allow these things into my life. And so the more I took steps towards this new bookshelf, guys, it felt so uncomfortable. I constantly doubted every thought, decision, action I took because I didn't think it was the right thing to do because I wasn't used to doing that before, right? We want familiarity. We want things that we know what it feels like the sense of nostalgia. We love that so much because it brings back emotions. It brings back times in our life that really served us. And it's so fine to reminisce and to think of the past. Yet again, it comes back to feeling your emotions. That is the purpose of being a human, where it's okay to reflect on past times and to be sad about it because it was so great, but that's not our reality anymore. But that's always going to be there. You can always go back to that book and you can always read that book again. It's always going to be there. It's in your heart, right? But I know you listening to this podcast, we want growth. We want to work through things. We want to do and be and achieve incredible things. And in order to do and be and have those incredible things, we have to do stuff that feels a bit uncomfortable at times, but we know in our heart it is the quote unquote right thing to do. It's the best thing to do for us because you're putting yourself first. And now that I've navigated those uncomfortable emotions and feelings the best I could, I had support. I always had friends to fall back on. And it's not saying that I never feel those feelings because I was only feeling it literally 12 hours ago. You just get better at working through them. It doesn't get easier. You just get braver. And when you can get to that point, which I'm sure you already have, maybe you just haven't recognized it. But when you get to that point, you will just have this I don't even know how to explain this, but just such a beautiful sensation over you, knowing that you are choosing to learn through love. And when you can lean on the faith of the universe, when you can trust the universe has your back, that what is meant for you will never pass you by. You are not ruining something for you unless it was meant for you. If it truly is meant for you, it's going to find its way back to you. One way or another, it's going to take a detour, it's going to take a U-turn, it'll come back to you if it's meant for you. And this has just been the most comforting mind shift that I have just been reminding myself on for so long. Because you're never going to ruin something that is supposed to be in your life. Always trust that the universe has a bigger, brighter, better plan that you can't even fathom. And I have just been really honoring and playing with this for so long. And I am just completely open now to any possibility and opportunity that wants to come into my life. But I'm not getting caught up in nitty-gritties. I'm not caught up in specifics anymore. I know when we hear the concept of manifesting, it's get super crystal clear and write everything down from A to Z. I am trying a new thing because I've just been loving doing the complete opposite of what we're told to do. And it's really working for me. And I'm just trusting. I'm instead putting all that focus and energy on myself. I'm not writing down what I want my perfect dream person to be and look and act and feel like. Like, I'm not doing that shit. I'm instead putting that energy into myself. Who's my dream version self? Who is the dream version, next version me? Version twice. Think of yourself like that, this next version you. Put all that energy into building and creating that. And then once you can align yourself with this next version you are aligning yourself with these new opportunities, these new people, these new friendships, these new connections to come into your life because you are elevating, you are lifting, you are writing, directing, creating, being the architect, being the artist of your own life. I'm just in such a mood right now where I am completely and only focusing on myself and my life. And the most important things in my life right now are the connections I have, my friends, the people in my life, and my business. And I'm not getting caught up in any bullshit, anything that doesn't make me feel worthy. And I just trust that what's meant for me will come right to me. And patience is a virtue. And for anybody who thinks that they are in a hurry to get something done, to find somebody, to build or create something, you are on your own divine timeline, but you also have the ability to speed up that timeline if you want to. It comes back down to your beliefs and your thoughts of yourself, of your vision, of your business. It then comes back down to recognizing that you are doing the best you can right now and making peace with that. And then it comes down to, are you allowing yourself to feel your emotions? Are you staying in situations with a person, in a friendship, in a job because it's quote unquote comfortable? So some food for thought there, guys. Quite a deep, profound half an hour I've just spent with you. But I hope this resonated. I hope you got some meaning from this. I'm excited to hear what your own interpretations were from this, because this is my beliefs and thoughts, and I had this platform to share it with you guys, and it seems to be something that so many people love to hear. But by all means, am I not saying I'm a guru or I'm right and this is the only way to think. I think being open-minded is fucking beautiful. And I'm so open to hearing other people's thoughts and other people's realizations. And I think the coolest thing is where we can say one thing and it lands differently for so many people. It can be something minor or something major. I see this if I'm just hanging out with a friend and I say something or she says something, it lands for us differently. And the person who said it is like, oh, really? Like that, as if like, oh, I'm surprised that, brought upon that thought, that emotion. But yet again, you're choosing to listen to this for a reason. You chose to get to the end of this episode for a reason. And so honor that and be excited with that and just approach life with curiosity is like, yet again, another big piece of advice I have. So feel your feels, feel your emotions, and approach life with curiosity, because that way you're taking the pressure off. You're not getting caught up in XYZ and all this bullshit. Life is not meant to be like that. Yeah, we go through times that suck, that are sad, but that's life, right? So the more we can approach it with curiosity and love, the more effortless it's going to feel. And who doesn't want to live a nice, like, effortless life? Because why not? So on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you as always. If you enjoyed this episode, I love it so much when you guys screenshot the podcast and share it to your Instagram stories. You can tag us at startsomewhere.podcast, and also feel free to tag my personal, which is Isabel Prestia. We will pop both of those in the show notes of this episode. I'm so grateful you chose to stick around to the end. I'm really grateful for your support. And I hope you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever it is you decided to listen. Thanks so much, guys. I'll speak to you in the next episode.